to start. It's 9 o'clock. This is the panel coming from Capital Room number 3, about to start on demo teaching and teaching techniques. That's for the benefit of the tape in the other room. Thank you. The panel this morning in alphabetical order will be Ernie Kinney on my right here, Dick Ledger, let's take a drink to absent friends, who has not yet arrived, and myself. My name is Colin Walton, and if you listened very carefully to Arden Hopkins yesterday, you noticed that he was stressing the fact that we should learn to speak English. So you get a second bonus in this room today. You learn what English is all about. And without wasting any more of Ernie's time, because he has 20 minutes, we're going to take 3 20-minute sessions with the 3 people up here and allow the other 6 minutes for questions. So I would suggest that on the back of your lesson plan it's a blank paper, and if you have a pencil, and if a question comes to mind during the time of the that the panelist is working, make a note of that question so that you're ready to ask that question in the 6 minutes that will be allotted at the end of the teaching or demonstration time. So without any further ado, Ernie, here comes your 20 minutes and you're on a timer.
You call that English?
I do.
Very quickly, in fact, for the next 20 minutes, we're going to take you from night 1 through the teaching of a square through. And we have many different opinions on how to teach a square through and how to keep men from courtesy turning the ladies after a right hand pull by in a square through. I have seldom had that problem, in that I start teaching a square through night 1 as soon as my class can pass through and identify their partner. I start getting them into the traffic pattern of a square through, and that naturally is night 1. So if we can have our square out, you're going to be on the floor now about 20 minutes. For the benefit of those who came late, Dick Ledger.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Now, of course, we start our classes in a big circle, and they, about the middle of the evening, or maybe 2/3 of the way through the evening first night, they will do a grand march type thing into squares, and at the same time they learn this. Then when they learn to do a pass through, we will start, after practicing pass through, separate, etc. Then we start them into pass through. So heads pass through, face your partner. Now here we teach them to barely pass through and try to reach out and touch hands after they do this. So now pass through and face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through. You're now all facing your corner. They do not know that they've done a square through formation at this time. All they've done is a series of pass through and face your partner. Then they're now facing their corner, and they've already identified these people. So we once again say, let's all pass through and face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Okay, do a half sachet. Weren't very well taught, were they? Now let's go back to the definition of half sachet. Half sachet, the right hand dancer will slide to the left-hand dancer will take a little step back and slide to the right. And it's not a roll-away motion. A half sachet and a roll-away are 2 different things. And I hold my dancers strictly adhere to this. So let's do a left all man and square your sets. Does that put you back? Is that not your corner? We won't worry about it. We won't worry about it. Everybody needs a partner. Now for the sides. Sides, pass through, face your partner. 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 pass through, face your partner and pass through. Smart alecks in this group, aren't they? Do a U-turn back. Okay, now this is the way we start establishing our traffic pattern the first night for a square through. 3 or 4 weeks hence, we do this every night. 3 or 4 weeks hence, we will, when we're getting closer to the time to teach the square through, then we give them their hands. They get their hands. So let's have the heads give a right to your opposite pull by, face your partner. Shake left hands with the girl in front of you, pull by, face your partner, and shake right hands, pull by, face your partner, shake left hands, pull by. You're now facing your corner. And we still have not told them they're doing a square through. Okay? Do a right and left through, star through, pass through, and do an Allemande left. Bow to your partner. Then we start practicing a different way. Head star through and do a U-turn back. Okay. Pass through, face your partner. Now here's sometime we have to identify partners. We come back. We've not found in the identifications and anything below advanced level a definition of a partner. So I tell my dancers at this point, our definition for a partner through this class is going to be the person by your side facing the same direction you're facing. And if you're in lines as you are now, it's the end and the adjacent center are partners facing the same direction. Unless I tell you the center 4 will do something. And that means the center 2 in each line will do something together, then they become partners for that particular call. Okay? So we can, once again, we've re-identified our partner. Our partner is the person by our side facing the same direction we're facing, and like you are now in lines of 4, it's the end and the adjacent center. Pass through. Where is your partner? Hold your hands up with your partner. Right. So we have 2 boys are partners, 2 girls are partners. Face your partner. Pass through. Face your partner. Everybody star through. Center's California twirl. And do an Allemande left. Now this is the kind of things we go, and maybe for one more lesson, and I'm in no hurry to teach my classes. My classes run a year. I know you can't do that, but I control my own classes, and we go 52 weeks minus holidays to get through the mainstream and QS, whatever that might be at the end. So let's try with the music. I don't know about this record. Terrible record. What's that? Is that a red boot? Well, a bow to the partner, and the corners to 1s and 3s. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through. You're now facing your corner. Pass through, face your partner. 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 Do an Allemande left. Do a bow to the partner. Sides, go forward, then back. That's not bad, is it? They did pretty good. 1, 2, 3, touch back, 2, 3, touch. Sides, pass through, face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through, face your partner. Pass through, do an Allemande left. Then bow to the partner. Okay, this is still first night things. This is first night things. First nighters. They can identify their partner, and they know how to do a pass through. They know how to do a U-turn back by this time. So it's all individual little things, and we tell them that of course, they hold hands immediately once they pass through, if they can. But then we try to take that privilege away from them by having the next call ready for them. Okay, once again, now we're going to go into the, say, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks hence, or maybe two weeks before we actually teach a square through. Heads. Thank you. Heads. Give a right to your opposite, pull by. Face your partner. Shake left hands, pull by. Face your partner. Shake right hands, pull by. Face your partner. Give a left, pull by. Do a right and left through the outside too. Give a right to your opposite, pull by. Face your partner. Give a left hand, pull by. Do a U-turn back. A left Alabama, the corner jack, and bow to the partner. Very good. This is say 3 weeks before we're going to teach a square through, and we've practiced this. See, we have no problem with the courtesy turn here. Our traffic pattern is becoming embedded in them, and this is dancing every night. We're not just doing this as a little drill session. It's every night dancing for these people. They're not getting bored, and after all, how can you bore a 4 or 5 week dancer? You may frustrate them, but you don't bore them. So we keep repeating. We tell our dancers that the average dancer, the average person square dancing, and this is one of our intros, the average person, it takes about 100 times to call a call for them before they can do it without thinking. Now that's average. Some can get it in 50. Some in 150. And those who usually take upward of 200 become callers. So we're not trying to train callers tonight. We want to teach you to dance. So now let's have the sides work now. Sides. Go forward, then back. They did well again. We check them on all the things we've taught. We check them if we're doing a forward and back, and we also tell them about what they're going to hear. We check to see that they go 1, 2, 3, touch, back, 2, 3, touch on their forward, up, and back. And then we tell them that some callers are going to clip on you. They're going to say go forward and back and give you about 2 counts to do it. But stand and look at them like, you crazy son of a gun, you shouldn't have called it that quick. So we want them to stick with what they know, at least until they get out and get contaminated by the club members and other people that they'll be dancing with. Sides. Give a right to your opposite, pull by. Face your partner. Watch it, Will. Shake left hands. Give a left pull by. Face your partner, give a right pull by. Face your partner, give a left pull by. Do a right and left through the outside too. Star through. Pass through. Do a U-turn back. Left Alabama, the corner jack, and gonna bow to the partner. Side two, go forward, then back. Now watch the heads. Star through. Do a U-turn straight back. Here we go. Give a right to your opposite, pull by. Face your partner, give a left pull by. Face your partner, give a right pull by. Face your partner, star through. Centers, give a right to your opposite, pull by. Face your partner, give a left pull by. Face your partner, give a right pull by. Left Alabama, the corner girl, gonna bow to the partner. All right, we're pretty well established after about 3 weeks of practice at this thing. And can you understand here that we're not really going to have a bunch of trouble with the courtesy turn? Do you understand why we wouldn't? Because their traffic pattern is established. They've done it. We will also use mini squares, and we'll put 2 boys together and 2 girls together and have them practice this way in 2 couple squares. And they practice. And this is the important thing, of course. We're trying to get that 100 times called across to these people. And then once we teach the square through, they're pretty ready to do it. They can do a square through bang, bang, and all I call is head square through 4 hands. We really have not had that much problem with the courtesy turn. However, there's old Will Never Learn and his wife, probably will not either. They will do a right pull by and a courtesy turn. So we have to start all over sometime. We have to back up and say, okay, now we're going to practice this. There's no courtesy turn involved in this. We're going to practice it. And we're having a little problem with it. And this is one couple maybe. We all have that couple. So we can't say that no one will courtesy turn, but we try to take that away from them as much as possible. Even to the point, if we do have to go around and put 4 boys together and 4 girls together, we'll do that. But once again, we do practice from this. You guys are good. You're doing better. Heads, go forward, then back. Square through 4. And here I direct them. Do a right and left through. Square through 2, right pull by, face your partner, give a left pull by, stop. All right. This is a half a square through. You squared through 2 hands, that's 1/2. We've done this much of a square through. Everybody do a U-turn back. Give a right to your opposite, pull by. Face your partner. Very good, I get the same reaction. Give a left pull by. Face your partner. Give a right pull by. Everybody do a U-turn back. Star through. Do a right and left through. Do an Allemande left. Okay, see the different formations you can get in to practice this and the different things that you do. And each time you have to point out to your class, now, where is your partner? Where is your partner? Remember, your partner is the person on your left or on your right, facing the same direction you are. If you're in a line of 4, it's the end and the adjacent center, or vice versa. And unless the caller says center 4, do something. So, in teaching a square through, thank you guys. I think I'm through with you now. You did give them a hand, gang. Great job. Now the actual night of the teach, the actual night that we're going to teach a square through, we are very strong on a demonstration square or a demonstration couple. We are very strong on that. We use those people. The way people learn, of course, is by doing, but I think the quickest way they learn is by seeing, if they can see something done. So we use their eyes, and we do use demo couples and demo squares. Is that a hint?
No.
We use demo couples and demo squares to show these people exactly what they're going to be doing. We like for them to see what a square through looks like. We do not use our demo squares as angels. We do not let our experienced dancers dance with our class if we can help it. If we need a couple or 2 couple or 3 couples to fill in so someone gets to dance, we do use them. But we use the Ballard Numbering system, and they will take a number and they will dance every tip, just like the class does, and then that way they're not all in one square. So, and we caution our demo squares that they will please dance it the way they were taught, and we try to get demo squares people whom we have taught, so that we know that they're going to do a proper demonstration. We also school them the night of the demo and tell them what we want, and they are real good to us, and they do it exactly the way we want it. So this is the way we teach a square through. If you have any questions regarding this, now most of the things that we have in our teaching people to dance, we have lead-ups for. We lead them into these things and try to have them doing them pretty well the first night. Of course, the night we teach a square through, we tell them this is a square through, and this is the way you do it. And we show it with a demo square and we practice it.
Exactly.
Glad I finished. We have about 6 minutes for questions and answers. Is that correct? Question.
In the 18 group formation you had there, it took me a long time to realize that when you did a right left through, the 18 through, and of course these people did it very smoothly. You take beginning dancers, the first time they're in an 18 through, which you call a right left through, and they see people coming right at them. And still, quite a while, no one realized they did not know the turn still right away. They've been doing right left through.
Let me reply to that. The statement was, it was not a question, the statement was, yeah, it wasn't a question, it's a statement. The statement was that these dancers here, of course, experienced, and the first time I called a right and left through, they did it. My demonstration was not on how to do a right and left through. My demo was a square through, and a right and left through had been taught 3 to 4 weeks sooner.
I didn't do that at all. I just kind of put out a trouble spot because it was right there in front of us to see it. And that's the right left through from an A chain. The trouble spot, you don't realize it's there until all of a sudden it dawns on you why people can't do that, even though they know how to do a right left through. The right left through from an A chain through is a much different look. And they see people coming at them as they go through there and they make a mistake on it. You can't forget it. Elbows coming in from the outside.
I know what he's talking about, but I have I've taught a right and left through 3 weeks prior to the square through, so my dancers, I don't get what you mean. I don't think it's a right and left through is not a trouble spot with me from an 8 chain through position. A right and left through from a parallel wave is a trouble spot. From parallel waves, I have trouble with the right and left through. But, Gloria? Before a square through, yes. Gloria says that I have not found a right and left through as a troubled spot due to the courtesy turn. I'm sure you meant teaching it prior to a square through. For the benefit of those who got here late, the demonstration that we had, Gloria, wherever you are, would I think eliminate this possibility, the demonstration that we used in teaching a square through, because of the lead up and because of the practice and before we actually teach the square through. Then we have not had that much problem, except with maybe one couple doing the courtesy turn after we get into the square through. And we also teach it with boy facing boy and girl facing girl. This is part of our traffic pattern established. Vaughn?
I wonder if we might not be missing the point I'd like to see made about his statement that we didn't realize that the 8-chain through formation was going to be a trouble spot in right left through, although we know we've already taught them to do a right left through. The point I would like to see made is if they haven't been doing right and left through for 8-chain through formation, you haven't taught them to do a right left through.
The statement that Vaughn made was, that's my sentiments exactly. The statement that Vaughn made was the trouble spot regarding from a right and left through from an 8-chain through position. If they're having problems, now if I'm wrong in your statement and condensing it, because I've only got about 3 left, that if they're having problems with the right and left through from an 8-chain through formation, that they have not been properly taught to do a right and left through.
If they can do a right and left through in this room, they can do it in that room, they can do it in the next town, they can do it from 8-chain
actually from waves, from parallel waves. They can do a right and left through. Well, it's a problem. We admit that a right and left through from a wave early in the game is a problem for people. And I think that you expressed my sentiments exactly. I have taught a right and left through 3 or 4 weeks ahead of the square through. So this is not going to be a problem. Do a right and left through and a half square through and a U-turn back and a left dial man.
You mentioned, Ernie, that the very first time you do the pass through face your partner, that will pull lie and face your partner.
No, a pass through.
Yeah, pass. The second partner, you identify that partner as a partner prior to this.
Identify your... It is your partner. They know that their partner is a person by their side facing the same direction they're facing. Yes, as we go along. Right. I stopped to identify partners in lines a moment ago because this is a trouble spot in getting partners together. Will? Who does not know about how much time we got? Who does not know about the Ballard numbering system? This is a system of numbering whereby we put up a little chart, square number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or whatever, that shows where on the square number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a chart that shows where each square is dancing. And we give each person, when they come in the door, each person, a number. And then the Ballard numbering system is sitting up here on the table. And it's a system that they can come up and look and say, I'm number 7. This tip, I'll be dancing in square number 2. So all those who have their number, they check with the chart, and it'll tell them what square they'll dance in. Then we move this over to tip B. The second time, they come back up and check again, and they look and say, well, this time I'm dancing in square 5. So they dance with different people each time. Not necessarily, depending on how many you got. Naturally, if there's only 2 squares, which is as low as it goes, then you're going to be dancing with the same people a lot. But if you have several, it's going to move your people around from square to square and have different people. And this, to me, it keeps your dancers on an even keel, and I'm about to get cut off. It keeps your dancers, you know that your good, quick learners tend to migrate to the front and push your slower dancers toward the back. So this keeps them all on an even keel, and your good dancers help teach your slower dancers.
You said something about the angels also get a number. You just mix them all in together.
If I have to have them, if I don't need them to make an even number of squares, I don't use them. I don't use them at all unless I actually need them. But we do use them to demo, and they're invited to come in as demonstrations people. My time's up. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ernie. Now from Rhode Island, right? Dick Ledger. Thank you.
Dick's going to say, I will
I just wish I'd had that about 30 years ago. I think maybe we should have been reversed, Ernie. I should have gone first, because I think that in the teaching, age before beginning, I'd like to have a square up, maybe preferably 4 couples that haven't been shocked so far this morning. Yeah, had a shocking experience. Could I have a square up? Don't all leap off your seats at once.
Who doesn't?
If you lift your feet, you might be a little bit more inclined not to get a shock. Okay, I'm going to presume, okay, in my teaching, I try to make people aware of the music immediately. Okay, and I'm going to presume you people know absolutely nothing except your heads or sides, your ladies or gentlemen. Okay, we're going to take it right from there. This is getting right back to, for the first 3 years of my calling, I did nothing but one-night stands. And I think if many of you who have done a lot of one-night stands realize that if people can take something the wrong way, they will. So you have to be extra explicit. Also, they're there to have a good time. And I try to start from my very first lesson in a class or in a one-night stand. And now, mind you, this would not be a square, this would be a circle the size of this room, hopefully, if enough people showed up. Okay? And so I'd put the music on. And I'd say, bow to your partner, that's the girl on your right. And bow to your corner, that's the girl on your left. Would you join hands, please? Everybody, forward and back. Now just the ladies, forward and back. Oh, that's nice, girls. And the gentlemen, forward and back. Now join your hands and circle left. And I'd bring up the music here a little bit. You got one of these things on here? Oh, my George. So you have. Right. Now circle to the right, go the other way back. For heaven's sake, you look so serious. Would you please smile for me? And for the people out there. And the heads, up to the middle and back. The head two ladies, dose it up. I try them and make them aware immediately. Head men, dose it up. Side ladies, dose it up. I try to get them to feel that music right away. Side men, dose it up. Isn't that terrific? Would you like to see all dancing like this? I should be so lucky. Well, I presume, I'd gotten that far. Okay. Now the head men, would you please take two girls, one on each side, and you 6 people go forward and back. And the other men dose it up. We're going to get kind of into the thing. Good. Now the people that are in lines of 3, you see the person directly across of the same sex. You're going to pass through, passing your right shoulders by, remain facing out. And remain facing out when you turn back all alone. Side men, would you take 2 girls, please? Go into the middle and back. And the 2 young guys dose it up. No, sir. You over the girls? Lines of 3. Go forward, up to the middle and back. Now pass through. Turn back all by yourself. All join hands, circle to the right. And I think they would laugh just the way you people. Now just the girls under 40 go forward and back. With the gentlemen over 40 go forward and back. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is that I try to get as much mileage and as much dancing with very little teaching as possible. Okay. What do I do to raise that? Oh, this thing. What are they going to come up with next?
That's the trouble when you're used to an accordion, you can't handle one of these damn things.
No, it's a guitar. Right.
I knew it was something you held in your hand.
Right. Any questions so far? Just any comments? Okay. If not, we'll continue on. Okay. Presuming now we've done a promenade and we've done a circle, I'll try to start once again getting as much mileage out of those very few things. Okay. I've already taught them a pass through, but I've taught them with 6 people, and the reason for that is that with 3 people facing 3 people, and you explain, you see someone of the same sex, they can hardly go the wrong way. They may try, and they may do a barge through, one shoulder or the other. But I try to be explicit in that area, okay? Now we'll try to get a little mileage. Could I have my water, please? Yes, we have a quick one. Shoot, this is what...
Sorry to be late, and if you ask a question, I'll go later. You didn't mention the fact that you
Yes. It's very okay. I try to make them, I make them conscious of the music immediately. I try to do my teaching as they're actually participating in the dancing. Okay? By the time they get up to square through or some of those things, I actually tell them how many steps it will take. Not before I teach them. Because what I'm shooting for is a target they're going to be getting to. And you're going to have all sorts of problems with square through getting them there at the proper time in the music. So even when we get into split phrasing, such as the square through from a static position, then you still reach that problem. I kind of challenge them, but you can only do this by bringing them along with the phrasing and the music and getting them to feel that music. Then you just smooth out the little things about the square through. Don't put your hands way out here. Keep your elbows by your side. Keep the square through in the middle. Don't open it up into a larger circle because you don't have that much time in the music to get to where you're going. So I'm challenging them in two ways. One, of how they're doing it, which I believe is styling, but it all fits in exactly with teaching to the music. The music practically is 90% of my guide of actually dancing them. Okay? Now we're going to try just making a little variation, progressing a little bit, presuming you people know a little bit more than we've done so far. Okay? And if I throw in a strange call like Ladies Chain, would you please do it? Which incidentally in Ladies Chain, when I teach Ladies Chain, I always tell the men they're part of the Ladies Chain. Okay? They don't just stand there and wait for the girl to get to them. They actually take a little step back, another step in place, go forward toward the girl, and they're 4 steps. And these 4 beats of music, the girls are actually doing the chain. By the time they get there, the gentleman's there ready to meet her. He helps her out, not helps, he doesn't do any pushing or anything, but she actually goes around him as he courtesy turns. Okay? So, right away I get people, especially the men, become involved in the Ladies Chain. So if you teach a lot of these little things, which have to do with feeling the music and styling, then you necessarily don't ever get as far as any of the other callers in the area. I used to try, but I found it was impossible, so now I do my thing and try to teach dancing, and they do their thing, and what it takes them to maybe accomplish in 30 weeks, it takes me 2 years. But I think I turn out a more rounded dancer, especially when I introduce contra dancing and everything to go along with this. Okay? That's all I got to just drop this button. This is amazing. Now, of course, if you have fun in it, it's even better. Okay? Join hands, circle left. And here we go with the circle left again. Right? But they're dancing. Reverse, single file. When you're home, all join hands, forward and back, go forward, come back. Now with that corner, element left. Grand right in left. Are we keeping our feet off the rug so we don't get that little extra shock? Wow. Now weave the ring. Don't stop. Weave the ring. Say good morning to all the girls. It might help. Do-sa-do. Promenade. And ahead 2 couples. Go forward, move up to the middle and back, and do a promenade heads. Promenade halfway around. Those ladies chain. Sides promenade outside. Those ladies chain. I didn't tell them halfway, right? Join hands, circle left, go around you go. Everybody move forward and back. Turn to the corner, swing. If you can jump up, keep your feet off the rug, it may help. And promenade. Talk to each other. Just don't forget what you're doing. And the heads go forward, up, come back. Do a right and a left do. Those 2 ladies chain. Take this girl and promenade outside. They were kind of combining easy material, sides with the right and left do. Same ladies chain. A little early in the morning, Jack. That's okay. Keep this girl in your promenade. Halfway around. All 4 ladies chain. Everybody move forward, move up, come back. Head bend, take your corner only into the middle and back. Head bend in the corner. Side bend, take the corner only, go forward and back. And head bend in the corner, forward and do-so-do. Side bend in the corner, forward and do-so-do. Head bend, take only your partner into the middle and back. It's a girl on your right. Promenade outside. So we're trying to get a little mileage out of very simple things. Those ladies chain. Sides promenade. Outside, halfway around. Those 2 ladies chain. All join hands, circle to the left. With the handsomest couple only, promenade inside. With the youngest couple only, promenade outside. Okay, this is what I try to do. In other words, from the very first time, I think there are different areas of teaching. A lot of my teaching started in one-night stands. And I have to make the most mileage out of the very fewest things that they have to have a good time. We've heard all different styles of teaching. Now, I try to carry this right into my classes when I'm running a class. I pick it up week to week. Fun is, they don't have to be there. If they don't have a good time, then there's nothing that makes them come back the following week. So the fun in it really is, after these little things, I'll do probably with what we've had tonight. I could do a complete one-night stand just with what we've had here. I know I could. But I don't set myself on a schedule, and I think that this is important. I think every group I've ever worked with is different. Maybe also the more experience I have calling and handling new groups or new people and starting from the beginning, you learn from your past mistakes, and you get a little bit more experience in teaching also. But the main thing I'm trying to stress here is that I try to dance them immediately, try to get them to feel the musical phrase. I give them the number 1 beat, and I try to maintain this all through my calling. Even when you get into split phrase things, I concentrate on giving the dancer the number 1 beat, because instinctively that is the beat they want to move on. If people start a grand square, for instance, on the number 3 beat of music, it's a yeah. They don't want to move. But you say size, bass, grand square, and then that heavy beat comes up next. That's the one I want to move on. Could we just demonstrate that a little bit? This button is crazy. It's beautiful. Just a little bit more music. I want to bring out that music phrase. Sides, face, red square. And I want you to see this execution. Reverse. Presume you know a whirl away. Heads, roll away, half, sachet, just the heads. Don't join hands, circle to the left. Now we're going to pick it up just to get a little more mileage on the grand square. When the men are in the side positions, just freeze for a second. Everybody forward and back. Now the 2 men face each other. Grand square. Once again, we're trying to get as much mileage as we possibly can for something. Reverse. Boy, would I like to see all dancing come back to this grand square. Join hands, circle to the left. When the ladies are in a side position, ladies face grand square. I detect a little wiggle out there, don't you? Reverse. Yeah, it's from the men, right? Now join your hands, circle to the left. Swing the nearest available girl, man. And promenade. Size, face, gray and square. Now we get them back in with a different girl, different position for the girls. But once again, right? Reverse. Full ladies chain. Chain back. Promenade. Ask her what she wished she got for Christmas. And bounty is on. Now, if I remembered to hit that red button, I would have pulled off right there, right? Okay. Yeah.
You can loose the little red button now. Turn loose the little button. So the little man in there is holding that thing up all the time.
Okay. Any other comments? Mary Ann.
Yes, don't you plug that.
Okay. I think the square should... Boy, wasn't that beautiful dancing, though? Ready. Thank you, Square. Thank you. Amazing. Now, we have any questions? Would you please say your name so I can say it over the microphone?
I'm Will Lee from Escondido, California. But I think once the record you have, the phrasing was very pronounced in it. And with the phrasing, it was very easy to watch the dance that way.
But records, phrasing is in every single record you have. Could we just take any one of those or flip it on?
Except hi-hat.
Well, I don't know. Sure, that's okay. That's okay. This could be, sure, same thing. Now, for instance, head men take two girls, move forward, come back. The other men do-so-do, and here's the one. Okay. Side men take two girls, go forward, come back. The other men do-so-do. And this is all, it's the same thing. Join hands, circle to the left. And you always get that call. What's that buzzer?
That's your demo time. Now you got question time.
Oh, okay. But what I'm trying to, could I have that record again? Sure. Okay. Because I think even though we don't have the demo, I think I'd like to just demonstrate a little bit. Presuming dancers know a certain thing. Would you start at the beginning? Because I like the beginning of the record. Okay, now if I were going to do a little quadrille like heads, right and left too, I could do it to any music as long as you can hear it. Same ladies chain. But you see, you don't have to lose sides, right and left too. You have to make it an instant with the music. Same ladies chain. At this point, I can kid with people on the floor. Join hands, circle left. And I dig that 8 beats of music. You corner swing. But at the same time, I can still talk to you. Promenade this girl. Promenade, go round the ring. You're going to take that pretty back home again. Smile at each other. And you still heads, right and left through. The music is telling you where to put that call. Same ladies chain. Down the middle of the floor and sides, ready to the right and left through. But my dancers are conscious of this. Same ladies chain. They feel it because I've taught this one. Join hands, circle to the left, hey, circle left, go round the right. When you corner, ladies, swing the corner. Then promenade around you go. Promenade around the ring. Take that lady back home again. If I do a square through, it's the same thing. Heads promenade outside exactly. Halfway. Square through heads. 4 hands, make sure you go all the way. All the way, sir. You see what I mean? Circle up full with the outside bear. Halfway. Dive through and pass through and swing to the corner in front of you. That girl right in front of you, sir. You with the yellow shirt. That girl, that's it. Promenader. Yes, walk as a couple. You can still explain a lot of the things that are going on at the same time. You call it. musical phrases in every single record. I hit it right on the button. It's tough to work the guitar with one of these, though, I presume. Right?
Any more questions?
Okay, do we have any questions? Frank Lane?
Frank Lane, Colorado. Don't make it sound so easy, though. You and I have both worked caller schools long enough to know that we've had 30 callers parade by and try to get them to say side space grand square on the final 4 beats of a phrase.
It's
Even the 20 will miss it the first time or two. So, and what he's making look very, very simple did not happen overnight. It happened with lots of practice, lots of sitting around and trying to put those commands so that the dancer has the first beat.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's one of those situations where I probably am guilty of that because I'm so music orientated, right? And I don't mean to be, but that point was taken up. It's not easy. I don't intend to make it look easy. It's like rubbing your belly, patting your head, and tapping your feet on the offbeat at the same time.
Comment on Dick's time.
That's enough.
Will was making a statement. Dick would say go forward, up, come back. Maybe it's easy for a lot of callers to say go forward, up to the middle and back. You got a filler. He doesn't need it, but a lot of callers need fillers. Forward, up, come back. Forward, up to the middle, come back.
This, yes. Name? Vicky? Oh, you've asked the wrong person. I don't call out of mainstream. As a matter of fact, I'd say 95% of my calling is in extended basics, up to and including extended basic with variation. The question was, how would you apply this type of calling into the +1 and +2 plateaus? I imagine yes, would you, Frank? Microphone?
By the same way we mentioned a moment ago, and Dick casually mentioned it in his presentation out here a while ago, when he said, when you come to square throughs, you'll develop the feel for giving the dancer the first beat. And it goes back to what I said from over there. It takes lots of practice time, and you must become conscious of that music. I hate to be this way about it, but probably 80% of us in this room only think about this with the music. We don't think about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. We do not think that. And you have to develop a feel for and a think of that. Now, in advanced dancing, and I do not call challenge, but up through advanced, you don't hit them all on the phrase. Because to get timing, sometimes you have to sacrifice the first beat of that phrase. But you have it up here and you strive for it and get it as often as you can.
Thank you. I would agree with that. I have danced plus material, and I've danced it all ways, from clip timing type of thing. I have danced +1 where once my feet stopped going, I don't want to stop it, and where I've just gone from one basic to another, and it really is good. But I think that this is probably a credit to the person who was calling, yes, but more so to the person who was teaching. If this caller indeed was getting his timing from the floor, then he had good dancers who were moving and not rushing. I'd like to make one last comment that I think is very important. In doing a lot of one-night stands and working with many different groups, I try to avoid I know sometimes you can't, but I try to avoid the expression, pull by. And I think I learned this years and years ago. Because at that time, men to feel masculine would get a girl and you said pull by, they pulled by. And I think I got this and I started saying walk by. And I would emphasize, especially now, on one night stands, you can't do too much of this, but. Okay, thank you, Colin, for sacrificing your time.
No, that's one of my pieces of material you just saw.
Oh, okay. Well, he stole all of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. But I try to use, and I try to impress the dancers, especially in the class when they start coming on a regular basis and having a good time, that the hands, to me, have always been used as guides. Just guides. You take them as guides. You don't grab them. Okay? And that's why I avoid expression like pull by and try to get the people to feel that music on every basic that I teach them, which unfortunately doesn't go into the plus area. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. It occurs to me, by the way, if you turn the page of your handout over and look at the first bullet, as I call them up there, it says, Dick, don't use phrases like when you are a dancer or grab that lady. It's all there. It occurred to me when we were putting this thing together that we have several problems. First of all, you have over 100 years of collecting teaching experience sitting up here on the stage. Dick being 80 and the rest of us having 2 each. However, that is true, and how do we pass on that amount of collective learning in 1 hour and 40 minutes or whatever the length of time we arrange? We can't, obviously can't. Can't is the English equivalent of can't, by the way. Yes, right. It also occurred to me that if we look for people to demonstrate, I tried very hard to get inexperienced square dancers, but the ladies said that they would want to wear their sweaters and not dance as they danced last night, and then I lost all interest. So I couldn't get the lay. But unfortunately, when we pull people out of an audience like this and demonstrate, you are unable to forget that you know how to dance. You are unable to put that behind you. Therefore, we do not get a true demonstration of what we would see on the floor in front of us. And unless we can get people to take part in a joking way, some way, at an audience like this, we're preaching to the converted. So I took another approach and said, okay, I will look down the list of things that come under the heading of techniques. And they have very little to do with actually teaching dancing. I'm going to get away from what these two gentlemen have done here and talk about management. That happens to be what I do for a living. And one of the things you have to learn to do is manage yourself as a teacher. And we start off, the top of your presentation paper there says preparation, presentation, and post-mortem. I did it that way because you got 3 P's. Okay? Presentation, preparation, presentation, post-mortem. As you came in the hall into this room today, the sound was already up, had been checked out. There were handouts ready at the door. You walked in, and we started the session immediately on time. And you were witnessing preparation. You also noticed that I was controlling the time, doing it very deliberately and with a little humor to make a point. I thank goodness I didn't have Cal Golden here, because I've been that route once and I was not successful there. But we were very successful. We controlled the time. Okay? So as you walked in, you got a program blank in a handout, which is part of my preparation. We presume that you know all about the hall, and if you don't, you're doing a disservice to yourself. That's part of your preparation. You've arranged your help, the door, the refreshments, the angels, the tours, the lottery that Ernie Kinney was talking about. All of these are things that can be done. In the class information, and I want to make a point on this next one, we are talking about 41 weekly sessions of teaching dancers to arrive at a plateau. And if you take 3 minutes to make a verbal announcement to the class at each and every one of those sessions, you've wasted 120 minutes, which is in excess of a teaching evening. Think about it. Think about it. For one thing, you'll find that people do not listen very well to announcements anyway. So have the preparation done, put it by the side of the door, and keep that sort of announcement and time wasting down to a minimum. They're there for one purpose, and you can effectively use your time by teaching them to square dance. Not making announcements about what's happening, where we're doing this, where we're going, and we're going to do a demo. All of that stuff, literature. Get them used to one particular place where they pick up this information on the way in, coming into the hall. I personally have gone to prepaid lessons in blocks of 10. Has two advantages. Number one, you've got them. Well, it has three. I never thought of the third one. The money's in the bank. That's the third one. One of the advantages that I've found is that people have a sense of having paid, they will get there no matter what happens. So you've got their attention by taking their pocketbook. And that may sound mercenary, but one of the things you want to achieve is 100% record attendance from all of those people that are learning. And one way you could do this is by charging them before they came to the hall. They then feel that they're obligated to go get that $1.50 worth or $2 or whatever it is. Now, I've heard people say, I can't do that. And I said it too. And I found out I could do it. And you can too. And also, your dancers are going to be far more serious about their whole lesson if they've paid out $40 in one check instead of $40 on 10 single occasions. And I've noted that very, very much for the class. A whole new approach from the member. They have put down hard cash. It wasn't petty cash out of the pocket. It came out of the checkbook. And although we all know it was the same amount of money in the long run, psychologically, those dancers put down $40. I'm going to get my money's worth. Think about it. Okay? The other point about getting that money in advance is you've got no time wasting going on at the door collecting monies as they come in. When you walked in here today, we started this program. We didn't wait for those that were going to come late. You still here, Gloria? The same thing applies to your dancers, okay? Don't get into the habit of waiting for the last few people to come into the hall. You start on time, they'll get the idea, and after all, we're going to be talking in a minute what that first time is. It's not the most important time of the evening, okay? And I'm going to move down now to the presentation. I won't have, obviously, in the time I've got left, to deal with everything on here because they're in the form of bullets. And if you look, I could talk 20 minutes to any one of these subjects, and I don't intend to. I learned the first one from Lee Helsel many, many years ago. He said, you've been paid to do a job. You leave all your other troubles outside of the hall. You're in that hall to take away those people's troubles, not yours. So whatever your problems are, personal, financial, or anything else, you leave them outside the hall. Does everybody understand what I'm saying there? They are not to show up here. You're up here as their teacher and their friend, and you don't want to take any of your problems in. It's going to affect your performance. The review is, I think, self-explanatory. You should be reviewing the last 4 or 5 lesson parts that you've done. You should not be reviewing material that is 20 weeks ago. Don't waste dancers' time just because you enjoy calling something. That's fine if you've got the ability and the approach that Dick can take. But you maybe well have been put in the time frame of producing dancers in 41 weeks. And if that's what you've got to do, then you've got to give them the maximum enjoyment within the efficiency of what you're trying to do, which is teach. So, start to count the number of grand right and lefts you're teaching or calling, because you're no longer teaching, after 5 weeks. Start to count them. If you find you are overusing any basic just because you're used to using it, discipline yourself. Look at the material that you use and see if effectively from about 9 or 10 weeks on you can't say, alley man left with the corner. As a matter of fact, Ernie was doing it up here today. Alley man left with the corner, go home, and in my case I say swing. Alley man left the corner, go home and swing. And now the sides. You don't need to do an Allam and left and a grand right and left. And if you think that sounds mean, take a stopwatch. Or if you know your musical metronome beats, you can work it out and take 20 extra grand right and lefts per evening for 40 weeks and see how much of your teaching time you threw away. They'll get their grand right and lefts. They will get an over-sufficiency if you're not careful. Now, if you look, you've got a program here, a program blank. I don't have one. I did, but it's not up here. But you've all got a program blank, and I know it off by heart anyway. This is produced by me for my benefit. It's copied from other people, I'm sure, but by now I've forgotten who I stole it from. If you are, do we have any teachers here from a public school teaching system? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you are, I think, required to produce a teaching plan. Is that correct? You produce a teaching plan automatically everywhere you go. And yes. I heard somebody say in one of the questions, do you subscribe to the philosophy that you have to teach a square through before a right and a left through in order to avoid the courtesy turn? I take objection to the word philosophy. That's not philosophy, that's an excuse. Now, we have a basic program that has been produced by some of the best minds in square dancing. If you've looked at it many times. This is suggested teaching order. If you can't teach in that suggested teaching order, I suggest you look to yourselves, not the teaching order. Any good teacher of any subject will tell you that when they put the textbook in his hands, that the School Board of Education have decided that he's got to use his first feeling is, oh, I don't want this is not my way. Sorry, folks, you're a teacher, not a caller. You learn. You show that you are a professional. You show you know how, and then you get all of that program and work it. Now you get to your lesson plan. You'll notice on here, the top of the plan tells you where it's at, the date, the class name, the place, and the session number. It says notes from last session. And that comes from the bottom of the page of the previous class plan where it says comments. You may have noted something that is really going to give you a little problem. Something you've been teaching that's not working well. You make a note of it and then you transfer it to next week's plan. And I've already marked the number 1 tip. The P&S, by the way, stands for patter and singing, not push and shove. I've only blocked in the first one as being warm up and review, but quite often as you go down towards the middle of the class, the second tip is also a review tip or part of a review tip. And your eyes should be alive. You're not calling for your own entertainment, and you're not up there showing off. Okay? Your eyes should be alive to the whole of the hall. Use your peripheral vision when you're up there. You're watching. What have I got? What are my problems? And you have a pen in the other hand. At least I do. That's one of the reasons I don't use a guitar, because I'd be in trouble if I did. And I'm writing down little notes as I go along to that first tip. And that becomes the basis, probably, of what's going to happen in the second tip. So they've got a problem with star through. They've got a problem with this. They have a problem with that. Don't stop them. I'm not going to start them. Just keep going. Keep moving through the review. And by the end of the first tip, they are warmed up, they're practiced, they're reviewed. And now I have some clues of where my next problem lies, because I'm not going to go forward with a floor problem that I haven't yet learned to handle. So I then have got a little note down here. They are having trouble, and where was the gentleman? With right and left through from a wave. A typical trouble spot. Trouble spot we've all seen. They're having difficulty with it. So what do? I immediately decide that I have to do a little bit of work at that point before going forward. There is no point in going forward into your lesson plan if those people don't know that particular part. So, part of the lesson plan is, and I'll use the 100 of Ernie Kinney, is once they've done that 100, and it should be tapering down, by the way, The big number should be at the front where you taught that. You want 60 grand right and lefts the night you taught it. I'm exaggerating. And only 10 on as you walk down towards the 100th time of teaching it. And so when you get into your lesson plan, don't use extraneous material. You don't need extraneous. They can have as much fun doing a right and left through as they can doing an Allen and left. They're all only movements. Just because you have cataloged them doesn't mean they have. You get out there and use the material that is of most use within the framework of the lesson that night. I might demonstrate that later on. Let's move on down a little bit. Okay, I've already essentially moved to this next point that a 2-hour session represents only an hour and a half of dancing and instruction time. Don't waste students' time. It's not your time, it's their time. They bought it. Don't waste that time. There are certain things that we all do that waste time, and we should be careful. Watch your time. Just start to monitor yourself, all right? Time management is the most essential part of managing yourself. Manage your time carefully. Whatever mechanical aids you can get. I've got an electronic one on my amplifier. I just rest the mic and it tells me when to stop my break or when to stop my dance spot. And it does it automatically. And in fact, on the rest spot between dances, it actually starts a hoedown on an endless tape, and the dancers are Pavlov conditioned to get back on the floor as soon as the music comes on. Yeah. Sorry about the Pavlov reference. At least one gentleman appreciated it. Know your material, okay? You're not in there to learn your square dance choreography, and if you think you are, please don't teach. You are in there to provide those dancers with a learning pattern. You should know your material much better than the caller that has the benefit of calling to experienced dancers that know the basics he's calling. And I would suggest, and I might get some argument here, that lessons are not the place for sight calling. Lessons are the place for a rigid, built-in program that you have, that you know. After all, it isn't very much to be able to know that mainstream program thoroughly from a teaching point of view. You really don't need to be a sight caller there. You need to be a teacher, knowing your lesson, okay, knowing your class plan. Don't be floundering around there looking for a corner for 20 minutes because you're sight calling, because they ain't getting the benefit of what you're there to do. Now, I know I can get some disagreement with that, and I'll take arguments as well as questions later. Short sequences. Don't clutter. Does everybody understand what I'm saying there? We saw some examples today here of some short sequences. Don't go into a long equivalent of a lead to the right because you need a line of 4. Go to a quick one. Get them out there. Do your thing. Get them back out of it so that they don't get into that frustrating condition of standing there, a couple of squares standing there, watching other squares work. Because they're not learning while they're standing and they're getting frustrated. And when they get frustrated, they become harder people to teach. The more you frustrate them, the harder they are to teach. Because he or she is silently there standing looking at you, but inside he is building mental resentment. And as he builds this mental resentment, he becomes harder and harder, or she, to teach. Remember that, every frustration point. Don't waste time showing off. Don't teach material because you need it. This is one you might take back. There's nobody in here would do this, I know, but because we're all experienced. But because you've got a singing call with a figure in that you want to do, don't waste the students' time teaching a movement just because you happen to need that piece of material. You design the material to fit the class, not to fit your needs. Okay? Don't waste time showing off. So you happen to have an excellent singing voice or a piece of music that you like very much. Again, it's student time. Don't show off in front of the class. They don't appreciate it anyway. They already think you're the greatest. You don't have to prove it. It's only later on they find out that you're not the greatest, and it's too late then. They're out of class. Control your ego. That's self-explanatory. Your ego can get in the way of good teaching. Don't let it get in the way of good teaching. Control your brakes. This is most important. Most of us are very verbose in this industry. There's no question about that. We can talk at length, as I am already doing, and my time is slipping away. But we can talk at length. We learn to control that with a mechanical or some form of getting off the stage, getting on the stage, and keep that time controlled. Individual help. Don't reward tardiness or absenteeism at the expense of a class. It's self-explanatory. When somebody comes in and says, I wasn't here last week, don't say, okay, we'll reteach it. That was their problem, not the class's problem. If you want to help them, get down there and break. Yes, I'll take a question. Pardon? So let's have the question again and I'll repeat it. It does indeed become the class's problem, but you know it already exists. And right from the word go on that evening, that's one of the things your angels can do. They can, in between breaks, and with your help, you've got a 3 or 4 or 5 minute break, you can get down there and do a personalized teach. And that's the place to do it. Not as a class program, okay? Follow? That's the place it can be done. I won't have time to go down all this list, but if you'll read it carefully, this is not an original list. Some of them may be original thoughts on my part. I don't know. I'll be with you in a minute, second. I'll remember who you were. Some of them may be original thoughts. I don't know. By now, after the many years, and most of us would agree, and I know Frank Lane would, we begin to forget what we researched and what we invented. And there are just a lot of one-liners in here. And if you sit down at home, in the leisure of your own home when you get home, and just take this piece of paper and go over each one and try and think yourself into what I had in mind when I wrote that one-line statement. There's a whole book here reduced to one page. And you can take advantage of any of these things. By the way, there will be tapes of the sessions, various sessions. You can take those tapes home. It's very difficult in the atmosphere of CALLERLAB, I sometimes think, to organize our minds to learn so much in 2 days. Take advantage when you get home and take some papers and start to read what you've done, what you've listened to, where you've been. And then, in the case of this handout, that's what this handout's for. It's not for you to read here. It's to take home. Okay, I'll start taking questions now. And the man behind you was before you. And I believe in ERA, so we're taking him.
I would like comments on the bottom one on the first page. Don't allow students.
Problem student to hurt a class. Okay. My thoughts on a problem student in the class, and by problem student, I've taken the whole word in problem. It can be a variety of problems. Do you have somebody there that is detrimental to the whole class? Well, there's only one place for that person, and it's outside, not in the class. Now, that's a hard bullet to bite, but somebody has to go down, and it's unfortunately you're where the buck stops. You've got to go down and talk to those people. Some people are good at it, some people aren't. Jack Lasry seems to be exceptionally good at being able to not offend people by saying, hey, Jack, you shouldn't be in here. Take your money and go home. And he gets away with it. Some of us can't do it that well. We, at one time, took the coward's way out, and I guess it was the coward's way out, of writing letters. We don't do that anymore. I talk to people personally. I say, hey, I think you got a problem. I don't think this is for you. I think whatever the answer that you have to their problem is, you got to discuss it. You got to do it, and you got to get it out of the class. Because that one person, by trying to preserve them, you may lose 4 or 5 or 6 or a dozen good students. And that's your choice. Do I do it with one, or do I let the class do it by saying, I'm not going to be around that person? That's your choice. That's the only choice. It's not much fun. Nobody said it's fun to go to somebody and say, hey, sorry, this is not for you, and we won't have you back in the class. Is that answered your question? It's rough. It's not easy. Nobody ever said it would be. You probably didn't want that answer, huh?
For me, I am hired by a club to teach their class. Excuse me, what it is. And I was wondering if that was what you're talking about, learning problem rather than
Anything. Could be behavioral, hygiene, learning anything. I don't care. Ernie Kinney wants some more of my time.
You said the word when you said, I am hired by a club to teach their class. You become the teacher. The club is not the teacher any longer. They hired you to do it. It's your problem. And what they say, once you take over that class, is yours. Now, if they can't let you teach it, I would suggest you get you another club or let them get another teacher.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time left, and I realized when I started to put this thing together that the time allowance was impossible. The bottom half of my presentation was post-mortem, and we do that after we walk out of the hall, and I'm going to do that after I walk out of this hall, and you might do the same. I did want to bring one more point to you before I take one more question down there, and that's one final thought, and I've heard this, I boil when I hear people say it. Teaching a class is not a training aid for new callers, and if you hear somebody well-meaningly tell somebody, if you want to learn to be a caller, you go teach a class, you do something, break his leg, his arm, or anything, but do not let them use teaching as a way to learn to be a caller. It's the biggest disservice we can do to square dancing. I'll now take the ladies' question if you would stand up, darling. There is no magic answer. I have had many, many problems in 30 years' experience from a boy who worked as an auto mechanic and used a barrier cream during the day, and at an evening's dance, his hands continually perspired. And the girls came to me and said, "We can't dance with him. We got to touch his hands, and he's like a wet fish." What do you do? I talked to him. I said, "Did you know you had a problem with your hands sweating all the time?" He said, "Yeah," and he explained why. I didn't know about the barrier cream. I just thought he had funny hands. And I said, "Is there anything we can do?" He said, "What do you suggest?" I said, "Well, of course in England we could do this too. In old-time dancing in England, which is like our round dancing, they dance in white gloves, as Frank will attest. And he went to dancing in white cotton gloves, and we used 2 or 3 pairs during the evening. I'm not saying that you can do that, but that's how one answer came out. Okay, if it's a problem teaching, there you've got that. Yes, you can surround it by angels. Sure. You can always use your angels as a buffer zone between a problem and the rest of the class, and that's a very good answer too. They can buffer for you. Be careful, you might be graduating somebody that's also going to be a problem in the club. Don't persevere with something that's a way to waste of time, you know. We've got about 1 minute for one more question, and then it's coffee time. Could we take one last question? Oh, I've got 3. Wait a minute, he was first.
One solution, most people bring in a couple. Experienced dancers will get a new couple for the lesson plan. They could become their sponsor.
Yeah.
You can go to the sponsor and say, "We've got a problem with Johnny."
You take care of it, right? Yes. We're talking about learning disabilities, really, and that's not the only problem that we have in class. Got your question?
Well, my comment is I have to be more fortunate than most. I have clubs that dance from the basic level. The club itself dances just the original 38 basics. And I can simply go to them and go, "Hey, why don't you come out on Sunday? There you can dance with
Yeah. There are a variety of solutions. You know the solutions are, you all know the solutions. Just it's sometimes that you don't like the answer that you're giving yourself. You ever thought about that? You already know what you got to do about it, but you may not like the answer you're giving yourself. Had another question somewhere there. Was I an accomplished caller before I had my first class? No, but then I wasn't accomplished at anything at that time because there wasn't very much to be accomplished at when I got started. If you taught for 10 lessons, you were scratching by lesson 5 as to what to teach the other 5. There wasn't a lot around. See, it's where you come from. Today, I think we have teaching aids to teach these people all of the things they need to know before they go out and do it. You know, we put the movement together. You have to remember that modern square dancing started with many of the people that you're going to run into in the halls around here. Don't ever forget that. What we do today started with people that you're going to shake hands with. And it's only the last few years that we've become clever at it. by golly, I've made more mistakes than there are people in this building, or more quarters than have been lost in this building. How about that?